Okay, let's start with before we talk about failure. When you're gonna have kids, I think we know the answer, but are they going to swim?
No, no chance. No, no. You know, I remember I have this like really good picture when I was in my boarding school. Someone came to interview us and asked us, okay, you're all in the boarding school now. We were sitting like 50 kids on the ground or something. So are you gonna send your kids to the boarding school? And all of us said like no. But it's not true,
It's in your blood.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
gonna pass on.
Exactly. I don't see any picture or there's no way that my kids won't do sport. I definitely prefer that they won't swim. I think it's hard to live into expectation of parents and stuff like that. So
Okay, well, we're going to talk with this in a while. Tell me, what's your biggest failure?
wow.
Oh, wait. We're going to talk about biggest failure in life and biggest failure in swimming. So let's start with swimming.
Yeah, let's start with swimming. I think it's easier. My biggest failure in swimming definitely was the Olympic Games. I always say it was the most horrible experience of my life. It was the most learning experience of my life, though. So
tell me a little bit about it.
I think I was in the Olympic Games at a really young age. I was 17, but we actually qualified to the Olympics 2 months before the Olympic Games, and being a distance swimmer, it's really I worked really hard that year. I was in my I was still in school. Didn't do any of my bagruyot, which is the test to graduate from high school. I pretty much put my high school aside and spent all of that year outside of Israel. And I think the most important part was mentally, where I was. The preparation was to qualify to the Olympic Games. And after I qualified, I remember that really, I remember the competition really good, because what happened is that I had to do a certain time in the morning at the prelims, and I didn't do it. And luckily, I made it to the final, so I had to finish 1 to 6 in the final. And I was 7th until at the 750 meter. I was still 7th. And my parents didn't come. They saw it on TV, and it was like, I guess for them it was pretty much life or death, pretty much. For me, not as much, but I was 7th, knowing that I have to touch the wall places 1 to 6, and I pretty much put my head under the water and swam my heart out. And I touched the wall and I finished 5th. And I remember that I touched the wall and the Israel delegation sat on the benches, and I didn't even look at the time. I touched the wall, and all I remember is Yoav Brook, which was one of the swimmers, and I just saw him jumping. And I remember that because it took me a while to actually look at the results. I think I felt so relieved because I knew I think the most disappointing part was that I saw that I understood that I qualified to the Olympic Games, and then I saw the result. And the result was not as I expected. And I think that's
a failure. You were in the Olympics. People die to be in the Olympics. People work all their lives.
But I think...
What do you think it's a failure?
Because, okay, that was European Championship. And what happened is that I saw the results, and I think that was the first time I felt really disappointed, because I felt I worked a lot harder than that time. I felt my best time was 8:47 in 800 freestyle, and I felt I'm worth at least 8:40. And we had 2 months to actually make it, to the Olympic Games. And I think after European Championship, I got prepared so much to qualify to the Olympic Games that I forgot that the important thing is the Olympic Games. You know, I worked so hard that year to actually make it there that after I made it, I couldn't lift myself up. And the 2 months before the Olympic Games, between European Championships and the Olympic Games, I just didn't manage to pull myself together again. It actually came into a certain point that even my coach, we were talking if to go or not to go, because I definitely couldn't I couldn't make myself practice at the same level I practiced all year long. And
but you were really young.
I was young.
17 is young.
I know.
Like,
I think
sometimes it's one time in life, right? Sometimes you have this moment if you take it or not.
I agree.
There's no second chance.
There's no second chance. I think the thing is that, you know, people at the elite unit, in the sports elite unit in Israel, they were saying, okay, she have to go, even if she's not going to swim that good, because we're thinking her goal is to make it in the Olympics 4 years later, and she has to, like, you know, Olympic Games, it's a competition that no matter how much people will try to explain you can't explain it. You know, it's just something so different. You think, okay, it's just a competition, you know. Come on, you need to remind everyone that it's just another day of competition, like
so
word
you have
and.
this tattoo of the Olympics?
No, I'm not. I'm still thinking about getting one. Seriously, no.
Where should you put it?
Here, I think, on the leg. You know, down there.
So what happened in the Olympics? What happened before? You were down. It's hard to train. Sometimes, if you're not Michael Phelps or Missy Franklin, you have to swim fast in the morning and faster in the afternoon. And most swimmers, even today.
Yeah, you know, I always. That's why I always said to people that I wasn't that talented in swimming. You know, most of the people in the pool were a lot more talented than me. Not in the Olympic Games, even here in Wingate Institute in Israel. You know, I was definitely a hard worker and really strong mentally coming into competition. And I'm always, people were saying that I'm a one-shot, you know, competition girl. I can swim horribly all year long, but my mind is to the last competition of the year. I know what my goal is. I'll come there and I'll kick everyone's ass. But I definitely, I think that I always said that I wasn't the most talented, and everyone told me, you know, how can you say that? You still, if you take the talented people, you're still in the top, you know, 5% of the population in the world, pretty much.
How did you jump to the water? You had to jump to 800 meters. You couldn't train. You were exhausted.
It was really hard. I think that was the part that made me actually decided that I don't want to go and pursue another Olympics, because you know, that's what I'm saying. You can think about it all day long and think, okay, that's just like World Championship or European Championship. But when you stand there, I got to have a really nice Olympic Games in Sydney, and Australia is definitely a very swimming fan, you know, and I can't forget that you know, I was standing there in front of the blocks. 17,000 people are sitting over there, you know. My parents and my brother are somewhere in the crowd. I don't know if they could actually see me. And I'm just thinking about it, and you know, the only thing I was thinking about is like, God, I'm like this small girl in this like tiny swimsuit that I could hardly put on me, and I need to swim a 800 meter now.
It's not a 50 meter, it's 800
exactly. And it's like, okay, I'm gonna suffer for a long time now. No, but
Did you cry before?
I don't think I cried before. Probably. Yeah, probably.
So you jumped in the water.
I jumped in the water.
3 seconds. What do you think?
Gosh, it's cold here. Something like that, probably. I think it took me, probably 3 seconds to understand, okay, I'm actually competing in Olympic Games, and my time wasn't as good as European Championship.
So that's what you felt, you failed?
Yeah, definitely. I think I failed. I think my first failure was in European Championship, where I didn't do the time I was expecting. I think it was the first time in my life I felt like my body disappointed me, because I felt that I came with the right mind and my body didn't perform to the expectation I wanted.
That's problems of many people in business, but you have to look forward. You have to.
I agree. I think I was too young. I agree. I definitely, people ask me later on. Even now, if you ask me, I'm 32 years old now, and I still think that if I will come back to the swimming pool and start training, I will swim a lot faster than I swam before. I think my mind is totally 100% stronger, and I had a strong mind when I was a kid.
We're going to talk about the future in a while. It's very interesting.